you're standing still. Nothing unusual, nothing dramatic, just your weight pressing down through your feet, your body held firmly against the ground. Gravity feels constant, reliable, almost invisible in the way it works. You don't think about it the same way you don't think about the air you breathe. It's just there, steady, predictable, unchanging. But that sense of stability is an illusion. Because the truth is, gravity is not the same everywhere on Earth. It shifts, it bends, it changes slightly depending on where you are standing right now. Not enough for you to float away or suddenly collapse, but enough that, if you had the right instruments or the right perspective, you would notice something is off. Imagine stepping onto a scale in one part of the world, then stepping onto that same scale somewhere else and seeing the number change. Not because you lost weight, not because anything about your body changed, but because the force pulling you down is slightly different. Gravity, the force that defines your weight, your movement, even the way your body developed over time, is not uniform. It's uneven, distorted, and constantly shifting beneath your feet. And that raises a strange question. If gravity isn't perfectly stable, then what else about reality isn't? Now picture this. You're holding a glass of water and you tilt it slightly. The surface of the water stays perfectly flat, adjusting instantly, aligning itself with gravity. That flat surface is like a visual map of the force pulling everything downward. It's clean, simple, and it tells you something important. Gravity has a direction. But what if that direction isn't perfectly straight? What if, instead of pointing cleanly toward the center of the Earth, gravity is slightly skewed, like a compass needle that's just a little off? Not enough for you to notice casually, but enough to change how objects fall, how fluids settle, how weight is distributed. This isn't theoretical. Scientists have measured these variations with extreme precision, mapping the Earth's gravitational field the same way we map weather or terrain. And what they found is that the planet is full of tiny distortions, regions where gravity is slightly stronger, slightly weaker, slightly off. Think of Earth not as a perfectly smooth sphere, but as something more like a lumpy, uneven object. Not visually, you can't see it, but gravitationally. Some areas pull harder, some areas pull less, and those differences come from what's hidden beneath the surface. Mass density. The structure of the planet itself. About a minute into this, you might be wondering, why does this matter? Because the deeper we go, the stranger it gets. Let's make this more concrete. Beneath your feet, the planet isn't uniform. There are massive mountain ranges, dense rock formations, underground structures, and even variations deep within the mantle. All of these contribute to tiny changes in gravitational pull. In areas with more mass concentrated below, gravity is slightly stronger. In areas with less density, it's slightly weaker. These differences are incredibly small, but they're measurable and they're real. We tend to think of Earth as a sphere, something perfectly round, like a ball. But in reality, it's slightly flattened at the poles and bulging at the equator. This shape alone changes how gravity behaves. If you were standing at the equator, you would weigh slightly less than if you were standing near the poles. Not because of anything you did, but because you're farther from the center of the Earth and because the planet's rotation is subtly counteracting gravity. Picture yourself on a spinning platform. The faster it spins, the more you feel pushed outward. Earth is doing something similar, just on a massive scale. There are places on Earth where these variations are more pronounced. Not enough to break physics, not enough to defy reality in some cinematic way, but enough to create measurable anomalies, regions where gravity behaves just a little differently than expected. Scientists use highly sensitive instruments called gravimeters to detect these changes. These devices are so precise they can measure differences in gravity caused by things like underground cavities, mineral deposits, or even the movement of groundwater. Think about that for a second. The invisible force holding you to the ground can be mapped like a landscape, revealing hidden structures beneath the surface. It's like having a second version of Earth layered beneath the one you see, a gravitational map shaped by everything you can't. And this isn't just academic. These variations have real-world consequences. For example, satellites orbiting Earth have to account for these gravitational differences. If gravity were perfectly uniform, their paths would be simple and predictable. But because it isn't, their orbits subtly shift over time, influenced by these uneven pulls. Engineers have to constantly adjust for this, correcting trajectories to keep satellites where they need to be. Without those adjustments, the satellites would slowly drift, pulled off course by the invisible contours of Earth's gravitational field. So even in space, far above the surface, these tiny differences matter. Now let's bring this back to something you can visualize more directly. Imagine dropping a ball from a height. You expect it to fall straight down, tracing a clean vertical line. But in reality, if you had the ability to measure its path with extreme precision, you might find that it curves ever so slightly, influenced by the uneven distribution of mass beneath it. It's like aiming a laser across a room and discovering that the beam bends just a fraction of a degree, not enough to see, but enough to change the outcome over long distances. This is the scale we're talking about. Subtle, almost imperceptible, but undeniably real. And then there's something even more fascinating. Gravity isn't just affected by what's beneath your feet, it's also influenced by what's around you and even above you. Massive mountain ranges, for example, exert their own gravitational pull. If you're standing near one, it's not just pulling you downward, it's also pulling you slightly sideways, toward it. Again, this effect is tiny, far too small for you to feel directly. But it exists, adding another layer to this already complex system. So instead of thinking of gravity as a single downward force, it's more accurate to think of it as a combination of pulls, all interacting at once, creating a slightly skewed result. Like multiple magnets influencing a single piece of metal, each one tugging in its own direction. By now, the picture starts to shift. Gravity isn't a straight arrow pointing down, it's more like a vector shaped by everything around you. The planet's shape, its rotation, its internal structure, nearby masses, all of it combines into the force you experience every second. And yet, your brain simplifies all of this into something clean and stable. You feel grounded, steady, certain that down is a fixed direction. But that certainty is built on layers of complexity you never see. Now here's where it becomes almost philosophical. If the force that defines your weight, your balance, your sense of up and down is slightly inconsistent, then your experience of reality is, in a way, an approximation. Your body adapts to these variations seamlessly, smoothing them out, creating the illusion of uniformity. It's like walking across a surface that isn't perfectly flat but feels flat because the variations are so small your senses filter them out. Your perception isn't wrong, it's just simplified. And that might be the most interesting part of all. Because it shows how much of your reality depends on forces you don't consciously perceive. Gravity feels absolute, but it's not. It feels stable, but it's dynamic. It feels simple, but it's the result of countless interacting factors. Every step you take, every object you lift, every drop of water that settles into a flat surface is responding to a force that is quietly, constantly changing. So the next time you stand still, think about what's actually happening beneath you. The ground isn't just supporting you, it's part of a complex system of mass and motion, shaping the very force that holds you in place. The direction you call down is not perfectly straight, not perfectly uniform, but the result of a constantly shifting balance. And you'll never feel it. Not directly, but it's there. Subtle, invisible, and just slightly wrong. I post videos that break down how reality actually works, from your brain to your body to the world around you. So if that sounds interesting, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.